Peace, peace. Happy now. Now is a vibrate, of course. We're not going too far in the future. We're not going too far in the past. Right now, we're gonna talk about Triple H, habitual healthy habits. Not the wrestler. Has nothing to do habitual healthy habits, but we're gonna kind of breeze in that area and talk about other little, situations, just kind of dealing with, that self-help, self-realization. 'Cause, we get again seeing that vibe of where, of course, we're not trying to ignore the external conditions of what's going on in this physical plane of existence, but you also don't want to constantly be paying attention, or being, fear mongered at, situations that's going on externally. There comes a level of having awareness of what's going on externally. So, like, cause say for instance, in order to fix a lot of external, like, fix things that's going on externally, I don't have to constantly focus on it to fix it. I just have to have knowledge of it, and all it takes for me is to breeze through the, not say breeze, but come across the information once, and realize, hey, there's a problem with people not knowing about chakras in this world. What can I do in this moment to help that situation? And think about it like this: what can I do in this moment to help this situation? Could I pay attention to the news, and constantly pay attention to them not talking about chakras to help the situation? Or should I pay attention to information that's going to help me be informed about chakras, learn about how to deal with them, and learn how to deal with it for myself and help others to learn how to deal with chakras? Which one would be more helpful? Me paying attention to this lack of information all the time, or me actually doing what it takes to help the situation? Again, you see, it's a balance in awareness. Like, the lazy way out is just trying to be like, oh, well, we should just be all the way on this side, or we should just be all the way on that side. Nah, it's a balance. You don't want to be blindly optimistic and positive, but you don't want to be overly focusing on negativity and pessimistic either. You know what I'm saying? Just like the sun not always overly shining, and it's not underly shining. It's shining at the right amount, to the balanced amount to create life. The water not overly drowning us, the water is not underly drowning us. Yeah, it's that right amount. I just want to speak to different little aspects on the growth. I'm reading from my notes a little bit, so bear with me, because I know I can get a little dyslexic. Look, can't even say the word right. But read my own notes sometimes. But one of the main reasons for synchronicity is because our vibration is raised to a higher frequency, and and our vibration being raised to a higher frequency is, dealing with energies that vibrate on a higher frequency, because, say for instance, the vibration of fear is a low vibrational frequency. The vibration of hate is a low vibrational frequency. The vibration of anger is a lower vibrational frequency. Now, anger, hate, that's not to say that these energies don't come up. Like, yeah, these energies could come up within us, because I could hate what, in which I tend not to use that word, but I could dislike what the KKK members doing, and what they preaching, you know what I'm saying? Or I could get, angry about it too, but I'm not gonna be, again, it's that dislike and anger, I'm gonna use it in a way that's constructive, so since I see that, I dislike that and it makes me angry, I'm gonna use that anger constructively to create a situation that's gonna, help combat that. So that means doing my inner work to make sure I'm at peace with myself, with all aspects of myself, and then doing my external work to making sure I, eliminate this situation, through that basis. But again, so although anger and fear, these vibrations are on a lower vibration. Not to say that we won't experience them, but it's not us lingering in those vibrations, And when we do experience it, we want to use those energies in a constructive manner, Just like, because again, like a battery, there's positive aspects to our growth and negative aspects to our growth. Like, but, you could, like, say, for instance, oh man, my shoe got wet whenever I was walking to the store, and I had to hop around on one foot. But when I was hopping around one foot, somebody ended up asking me if I needed a ride, and that person happened to be this business person that helped me with this and that. You know what I'm saying? Well, again, you start to see that even though something may be negative, you're still gonna have there's still a positive outlook within the negative aspects. Again, the contrast, our resistance makes stronger. The further you pull a rubber band back, the further it'll fly forward. The less you pull it back, the less it'll fly forward. The resistance makes stronger. The pressure makes a diamond, not non-pressure. Non-pressure, you got a lump of coal, you got just a lump of carbon, But with pressure, you get a beautiful diamond. But again, one of the main reasons for synchronicity is because our vibration is raised to a higher frequency. And another aspect to that too is also being in the now, being in the moment. In most cases, the reason why we're not in the now is because we don't find our moment to be pleasurable. Is because, in some way, form, or fashion, we're not taking action to make our now pleasurable. So it's unpleasurable. So we find ourselves constantly thinking about the past when, man, I remember when I used to do this, or I remember when I had a lot of herb to smoke, or I remember when things was this good, or it could be in the negative aspect, man. I remember when people used to clown me back in the day. I remember, you're all in the, in your past thoughts, or you like, man, I can't wait till I get that check on the first, or I can't wait till, then I'm gonna be happy. I can't wait till this happen. I can't wait till my soulmate come. Then I'm gonna learn about spiritual growth. Again, I tell people getting lost in that sauce. Like, oh, I can't wait till I have a kid, cause then my kid gonna give me that responsible energy to, nah, it's not external. External things is not, and again, it's not the, and that's why I was, excuse me, it's not the past or the future, it's your now, it's your now that's going to spiritually liberate you, not some situation that you projecting, hoping that comes in the future, and not no past situations. Is being in the now, and not being in the now is what creates, again, what, take you out of that synchronistic place, But through clearing our mind with meditation, causing less egoic mind chatter, which means less focus on the past and future, more focus on the now, which leads to less stress and negativity that puts your mind, body, and soul into a lower vibrational state of being. Lower vibrational state means the weaker our connection is with the higher self, our inner source. This is why positivity and being in a state of being with a healthy heart coherence, As a matter of fact, I should have videos where I speak on heart coherence. If you type in universal frequencies and heart coherence. And I also got one, I forgot how because I think it would, but yeah, if you type in heart coherence, I think COHERENCE, but I forgot how to, oxytocin. Because I also got a video that speaks to the oxytocin that's released, like whenever we give each other a hug, or heart to heart, or just touching, give a handshake, stuff like that, a strong handshake. But a certain level of like compassion shown in most cases through touching, or like again, hearts coming close to each other. The chemical oxytocin is released, and oxytocin is like a chemical that kind of, it's almost like serotonin in essence, but it's like just like a loving energy, that comes out with the oxytocin, like just like a feel good vibe. But all right, back. So this is why positivity and being in a state of wait, let's see. Oh, this is why positivity and being with a healthy heart coherence brings us to a place of more rapid manifestation. Again, the reason why things don't manifest is quickly because we occupy with some negative thoughts or negative energy. And when any negative energy, like when our auric field is occupied, we allowing holes in our auric field. Matter of fact, labradorite helps with repairing holes in the auric field. Just something quickly on the mind, but you know, when we, and matter of fact, and it helps with synchronicity. Because matter of fact, again, synchronicity is due to a healthy energy field. And if our energy field is not healthy, then it's less synchronicity. It's less manifestation. Less feeling good. You know what I'm saying? Because of that energy, a lack of heart coherence and a lack of balance in the chakras. The universe or higher self is not troubled by the mental woes of the human body, therefore vibrating on a higher frequency. So in order to line up with that energy, you have to raise your vibration, and also staying out of survival mode, and I got a video that speaks to that, dealing with spiritual growth and trauma. But probably if you look up universal frequencies and trauma, it may pop up. But staying out of survival mode, because when you're in survival mode, you're not being balanced. When somebody's in survival mode, they're like, oh man, I'm not even gonna worry about taking care of my kids like this. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna worry about doing this, I gotta survive, this might be happening. That person is not acting in a manner that's beneficial to their now and simultaneously to the past and future, you know what I'm saying? It's more so like what's good for the now, but with an energy that's gonna be unbeneficial in the long term, you know what I'm saying? When you're in survival mode, you're not thinking about, say for instance, when you're not in survival mode, you're taking your time and realize like, all right, the system has duped me, hey, I may not see it in this lifetime, but I'm gonna take my time learning how to get myself out of this situation, so the future generations, so my children, could know how to get themselves out of this situation. But when you panicking, you're like, oh shit, well, and then you kind of got that I don't give a fuck lifestyle, or let me just spend money all the time, let me just pop these pills, I'm gonna die anyway, or fuck it, you know what I'm saying, YOLO, you know what I'm saying, then you're not even acting upon, your now in a way that's beneficial to, simultaneously to your past and future. You're acting in the now in a manner that's, only gratifying on a pleasurable level. You're only pleasurably satisfying yourself, in a elusive, in a very illusionary type of manner, in that moment. Again, it's like feeling like, oh yeah, when I drink this alcohol, man, all my problems seem to go away. That's illusionary. You're gonna drink it, and of course, for that moment, that short moment, oh yeah, none of those problems exist. But they still do exist, and they're only getting worse because you're getting drunk, thinking oh yeah, I'm not paying attention to my problem. Well, they only getting bigger and bigger because you're not addressing them. That's why, that new age movement with that ignoring shit doesn't make sense, because on any level, when if you ignore the diagnosis, then you're not going to give the proper diagnosis. If my leg broke and I ignore it, or if I feel like, well, let me just stay positive, I'm not going to do what I got to do, let me just stay positive, then I'm choosing to ignore facts. The fact is my leg is broken, I should do something to help it, instead of trying to let me not pay attention to it. Like, nah, in order to fix, in order to do the proper diagnosis, I gotta look at that situation, no matter how painful or negative it is. You know, I gotta be like, all right, I see it. I gotta fix this. You know, compared to let me ignore this with positive energy. Then next thing you know, you gotta go back to the doctor and amputate your leg because you let it get too bad. You know, because you was like, oh, let me just be positive over here and ignore this situation that's obviously, you know, painful and hurtful and harmful. You know, let me ignore it. But again, keeping ourselves out of survival mode, you know, and getting into a state of, you know, positivity, you know, because in essence, that's where the manifestation comes from. In essence, is us, you know, us having that heart coherence, us being in that high vibrational state of being. Matter of fact, just other aspects too, you know, what we talking about. You know, matter of fact, stop facing reality and create your reality. You know, sometimes we forget about that. You know, we're too busy, you know, reacting to what's going on externally when we should realize, like, well, shit, the stuff that's going on externally is due to internal events. So, you know, acknowledging, like, all right, what can I be doing internally to change my external events, instead of feeling like, you know, oh, I have to face reality or this and that. Of course, you know, what's in your now is what is. You know, you got to accept what is your now. But from that moment, if you want it to be different, you have the free will to change it. And when we say free will within the parameters of what your soul signed up for on this physical experience. You know, because a lot of us forgot what we signed up for, and we tend to, you know, have a certain outlook of what we should be doing, but it's coming more from our, you know, egoic mind, more from what we've been taught on this physical plane, and not from our higher self and our soul purpose. You know, that could really throw us off. But again, you know, like and when we say stop facing reality and create your reality, again, that's not ignoring what is, you know, but at the same time, again, it's a balance. You're not ignoring what is, but you're not also overly paying attention to the bullshit that Trump's speaking on, or, you know, the bullcorn in the media, stuff like that. Again, having awareness of what's going on, but not to the place of overly paying attention to it, to where it becomes detrimental to your growth. Where again, all this thought, all this mind, what you constantly focus on grows into the physical realm. That's a fact, you know. So again, and it's a fact that you know, it's a balance of us, you know, manifesting things, you know, on a non-physical aspect and a physical aspect. So, you know, it's, you know, creating that balance between physical action and your thoughts and emotions, but at the same time realizing, though, it is the subconscious mind that basically allows for certain things to manifest within this physical realm for all of us, you know, depending on our level of subconscious, you know, the level that our subconscious mind on, that's the level of what things, you know, externally manifest into our physical realm, you know. You know, practice a state of being where we are loving our now, you know, where we constantly doing, you know, what we love, you know, constantly being blissful in our now, you know, keying in on the wonderful feeling you are experiencing in that moment too, because in order to create more blissful moments, you know, when you are having those moments of enjoying yourself, you know, like really, like, you know, enjoy it, like just lingering, like how good it feel. You know, if you like smoking your herb, then be grateful, like, you know, higher self, I'm grateful for this herb right now, man. It feels good to smoke my little herb right now, you know what I'm saying? It feels good to have this crystal that I always wanted to work with, you know, like really, really feeling and just being in that energy very strongly. You know, because again, our now is what's constantly manifesting as well. So when you constantly creating situations where you're blissful and feeling good and doing what you love in your now, then it's going to constantly create more of those moments. When you constantly being negative and you're constantly in survival mode, and and constantly in your past thoughts or constantly thinking about the future, then that's what your now becomes, everything but the now. You know what I'm saying? Focusing on other events, you know. But let that good feeling be let that good feeling set the standard, and be like the blueprint for your future moments, Satisfaction comes from moving in the direction of who we truly are, If it feels like a great idea, a good idea, follow it, go with the flow of that energy, Matter of fact, I got a video I speak on, with following intuitive impulses, It's like even if, because some cases you might feel like, well, is this from my higher self or is this, from my ego? And you could analyze the situation from a perspective of, like, in most cases, your higher self, whatever it's asking you to do in the moment, is going to benefit not only your now, but even going into the future, compared to, like, you might have an impulse to do something that's pleasurable, but it's like only gratifying to that little moment. Like, say for instance, like, having a little drink of alcohol. But again, who's to say though that, in your moment, that's what, was right for your moment, for you to have a drink in this moment. And then when you go to have a drink, again, you link up with a certain person, place, or thing, or you end up finding out about a store that a supply store that you needed to make jewelry at, but it was by the bar that you wouldn't go have a drink at. But if you wouldn't have followed through on that impulse to have a drink, you wouldn't have found that bead shop right by the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how, these things could work, But, again, that's just certain little aspects to, remember, because again, it's about habitual healthy habits. It's a constant, because again, we've been habitually dealing with bad, quote unquote bad, let's just say we've been dealing with harmful consciousness and ways and states of being, you know what I'm saying, on a habitual level. So, it's gonna take that, that polarity, again, and we're not creating a bipolar situation. We're balancing ourselves out, but dealing with, being healthy and dealing with healthy habits, we have to be habitual about it right now in this moment, because we've been habitual again on negative aspects and harmful habits, that hinder our growth, because I look up at myself, where, but again, as a part of the experience, part of the growth, where I had to see for myself, what areas was I being too dogmatic in, what areas I needed to release in, because now I'm realizing there's certain areas that I was a little routinely in, but that I should be routinely in, it's some things that I may have took away that I see that, all right, I need to implement back into the situation. Matter of fact, I thought about, like, like right now, having to unscrew some areas, that was fastened a little too tightly, It's like, wait, hold on, I fastened that a little too tightly. Let me unscrew this little area, loosen that up, put that back in here. You know what I'm saying? Again, we're constantly growing, and, it's a constant evolution. Reprogramming is a constant work, in the moment we feel like again, with the analogy of going to the weight room, do you think it's smart or that it makes sense to go in the weight room and lift a dumbbell one time? Bam, you lift that dumbbell one time, and then you put that dumbbell down and say, oh, now I'm gonna be strong and healthy for the rest of my life, And again, asterisk by this, we do have the magic abilities for us to do magic. Well, if you could program your subconscious to believe picking up a dumbbell one time could actually make you, strong and get your muscles to expand, fully on all parts of your body with that one lift. It is possible. Like you could get your subconscious to believe that it's not something that's impossible. That's another thing too. I don't like to, take away the realm of, of infinity. Like there is infinite possibilities. It just takes a level of, metaphysical work, but it is possible. So, but for the most part though, most of us down here, because we here too, actually, pick up them dumbbells more than once, you know what I'm saying? Some people might be in a part of life where they close to becoming an avatar, so they really came down here. The work that they doing is not too physical. Like they damn near a spirit guide on earth, within this lifetime. Again, different strokes for different folks, on the spiritual growth. Like the same thing within this body. Within this body, I got a root chakra, I got a sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart, all the way up to the crown. And although all those aspects, all those chakras are connected within this one body, there's a different vibration going on in my first eye chakra, or aka the third eye chakra, compared to what's going on in my root. Even down to the color red vibrates at a slower and lower frequency than that violet, purplish blue color, up there in the pineal crown chakra area. So those areas are gonna be different, although in this lifetime, occupying the same space and time, but again, you could almost say like some of us from different parts, different parts, I can say different parts of the chakra, but different chakras in essence, like different levels to the growth in essence. Some of us are from the crown, as above, so below. Like when I take a breath of air, that energy rise up the spine and go through the chakras, like that energy that's rising up through the chakras, some of those energies could choose to, hey, I don't want to continuously go through this cycle. So, on that breath up, some of those energies might choose to, hey, I want to stay in the throat chakra, And so those energies stay in the throat chakra instead of continuously cycling up and down through the kundalini, through the root to the crown, It's like, hey, I want to stay right here, And then two, realizing as above, so below, like you could ride that wave of the kundalini. They realize, hey, I want to stop in the throat chakra, but whenever I want to go higher or go back lower, I could just hop back on that kundalini train, in essence. Hop back on that serpent and, either go up to a high chakra or cycle back down into the root chakra, wait till that Kali Yuga come around, wait those 24,000 years, which, again, cause say for the cells in the body, when we breathing, like that might feel like we taking 1,000,000 years to breathe, to the smallest cells in our body, It's like once, like how we see it is every second, like, oh, that's every second I'm breathing. They probably seeing that like how we look at years, like every 7 years, that would be in comparison. So one single breath to us is like 7 years to the smallest cell in the body, so it's like that inhale is like the longest inhale ever, you know what I'm saying, to some of the smallest cells within the body. So you see that as above, so below comparison as well. But I don't want to get too far off on just that. But again, the reprogramming is a constant work, constantly, because matter of fact, having my awareness and focus back into, making sure I'm constantly like keeping up with that, self-help, keeping up with that, being in the moment, keeping up with my affirmations. My affirmations is something I, again, realizing to be, in essence, where it's a beneficial dogmatism, to say my affirmations every morning when I wake up. It's kind of like, matter of fact, it's almost like ritualistic magic as well, like having a certain saying, or like, dealing with your altar every time you wake up, or meditating in a certain spot. It's like, like ritual magic, because that's basically what we're doing with our habits. Our habits is basically like magic programming, you know what I'm saying? We creating, by being habitual or creating that repetition, we programming our subconscious to, to basically transform. We're doing subconscious alchemy, turning lead into gold on an alchemical level, and on a metaphysical level, you know, turning those unhealthy habits into healthy transmuting. But for myself, I realized I slacked up in some areas, and again, and just it's a constant balance and seeing where I need to work at, and not feeling like, oh man, I done messed up, oh man, I may, because again, of course, with somebody who, speaks to people, making YouTube videos and, speaking on things that's about, self-help. Of course, you want to be in the alignment of, practicing and dealing with what you're speaking on. But at the same time, again, realizing, like we all on a growth. So, regardless of where you at on your spiritual growth, you're still gonna go through things, regardless of how much of a teacher you may be, you're still gonna go through things on your spiritual growth, because I do find that, as much as some people, present themselves in certain type of ways, to a certain extent, in which I get it, you want to create an image, like, cause say for instance, if I do, work to help people mentally, I wouldn't want to do a video, necessarily of me having a mental breakdown. But which I'm different. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like that's one of the best ways to teach is to show people that, hey, I actually go through the shit and experience the shit. So even more what makes me a person to be able to help this situation is that I have dealt with it firsthand, but again, there is a level of balance where, of course, you don't want to come off as like, like I'm just completely just crazy, shitless crazy, crazy for whatever that means, you know what I'm saying? Because again, there's no such thing as crazy people in my eyes, but where you acting just shitless crazy, where it's like, all right, nah, like I don't think I would want to get information or learn about, how to spiritually grow from this person, but again, it's a balance, being vulnerable and showing people that, hey, no matter how much of a spiritual guru some people may look at us to be, like, nah, we all still go through certain growths and certain level of experiences. Now again, as we start to become, like as we start to master our skill set, we will be dealing with less of the situation, like the ebb and flow won't be so extreme in the growth, you know what I'm saying, but it's still going to be there. It's still an ebb and flow within our, just within, our life experience in general, with our experience with life, there's always going to be an ebb and flow. But, for myself, again, just realizing how I slacked up in certain little areas, then, just realizing to constantly, be consciously aware so I won't slip up again. But, in the name of the game, to constantly working on the basics until mastery, but matter of fact that, the slip up, which I got this, that's why the slip up. That's why the slip up exists, But I guess, in essence, the contrast of, like, showing us like, hey, all right, you slipped up in this area. This is an area for you to work on and get stronger in this area, you know. But again, just constantly working on the basics until we develop a certain level of, mastery in certain areas, you know. And then just another thing too with the theme is right now is, getting rid of our fears, transmuting fear, because, our fear is what hinder us from, becoming our greatest version, because matter of fact, in most cases, fearing expanding our comfort zone. But just want to speak on a few aspects of dealing with fear. Matter of fact, I do have a video how to get rid of fear. Definitely check out that video, because I actually went go. Is what I'm starting to have to do is go back and look at a lot of my videos and connect information. So things could tie in very smoothly. But just speaking with facing fears, or the fact of, in order to, get rid of certain fears, instead of running away from them, you have to face them. I think of the story about like how I was still kind of having a vibe of fearing being scared of the dark, or like fearing, as I'm watching a horror movie to turn my head or something like that. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I got to get over this fear. So I sat down. I forgot what movie it is. And Annabelle, I think it was the movie with the little doll or whatever. But I sat there and I watched that and I made sure I'm like, I'm glued. I'm like, as a matter of fact, to the level where if I felt like intuition knew that the scene was preparing something to jump out or something, and I'm like, I'm locked on even more. I'm like, I'm, facing that fear and showing myself that fear is, in essence, bullshit to have, I was like, oh man, you could get over that. And again, it's also, showing that fear of love, basically like laughing and giving our fears a big hug, like, and matter of fact, like, they done had Waterboy kind of speaks to this aspect, you know what I'm saying? Like facing fears. You think about that coach, that was always fearful of that other coach until he started visualizing the other coach as a little baby, and he was outside like, baby. As a perfect analogy, perfect example. Shout out to High Self for throwing that one down in this moment. But that's the perfect example, with facing fears. It's like, he was scared of this coach. But again, it like you had to face the fears, Like, and Waterboy vibe was somewhat to that too, you know what I'm saying? But the aspect with Waterboy was like channeling anger. Like, so the story of Waterboy was like how to channel, that anger. Like, when people's like, water sucks, Gatorade. It's like, no, it's about water. You know what I'm saying? He's getting mad, but he was using his anger constructively, in a manner that, allow for him to win the national championship again. Not speaking to sports, this and that, but just in the aspect and context of the story, allowing for him to be like, this hero-like figure, all because he channeled his anger in a beneficial way, and the coach channeled his fear, or transmuted his fear, in a way that was beneficial by facing his fear, And again, picturing the other coach as a little baby, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then that's when he started, all right. And he started running these plays that, that you never seen before, and stepping into a whole nother realm because he lost that fear. He stepped out of that fearful place, So, facing those fears with laughter and joy, giving that fear a hug, because also knowing that, like, hey, the energy that need love the most is that energy of fear, that energy of, again, this doesn't mean we're trying to go around like, and say, for instance, that like just singing Kumbaya, my Lord, and giving out hugs is going to help. But that energy does help. Like, it is an aspect that does help. Not saying that is the only way. to help the situation. Because, you know, as much as I could give out a hug, you know, possibly slapping somebody in the face might help as well. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm joking when I'm saying that, but again, just showing you the paradoxical nature of the balance of where it's just not one side thing. You know, it's not, because again, when you go to just being blindly positive, then you're not focusing on what's really going on and really helping the situation. You know, but again, that positive reinforcement, showing that fear, love. You know, as a matter of fact, fear. Let's see. Fear fears love and doesn't want to get recognized. You know, as a matter of fact, fear is something, you know, that, you know, connected with the egoic mind. You know, it hides in places. It don't want you to recognize that it is fear. You know, because it won't be able to operate on you. You know, again, that's why, you know, being in the now and clearing our mind and having a conscious awareness to being able to observe our thoughts, you know, observe what we're saying as we're saying it, you know, to be the observer and to stand back. Because when we're the observer, you know, that's when those fears get pointed out, you know. But and that's why when we're in a vibe of being the observer, in most cases, you know, that egoic mind gonna kind of like, look, let me fall back because they paying attention a little too strongly. We're gonna slip up and show our tactics. We're gonna slip up and show our game plan while they too aware, and they can fuck the whole situation up. So we're gonna fall back a little bit to the egoic mind. Like, so whenever you in that strong awareness of the observer, that egoic mind falling back, you know, ducked off in the corner, like, look, let me not throw away our game plan, you know, in essence. But we are God on a human experience, and we pick these paths to spiritually, you know, to spiritually grow, you know. So also realizing, you know, these situations we have in place for ourselves, it is nothing to fear. You know, it's basically an area for us to grow and learn from. You know, not nothing to run from. There is nothing to run from. We picked out, you know, all these situations in our experience, and also remembering that will help you to realize, you know, to not be so fearful of things that you are dealing with. Because again, you know, there's some type of growth in you walking through that fearful place. You know, like you know, fearing speaking in front of crowds. But when your gift is to speak in front of crowds, you know what I'm saying, to speak to people, you know, so it's like you got to face that fear. You know, you got to be able to look that fear in the face, and also love that, like to not be mad at yourself because you fearful of that, or feel guilty because you fearful about a situation, because that just creates more of negativity. You know, you want to, you know, love that, again, send love to that fear and love yourself regardless of that fear, and realizing now that you're acknowledging it, you can work on it to transmute that fear, you know. But stop letting fear cripple actions. Fear of what others think stops, matter of fact, fear of what others think about us stops us from being ourselves or speaking our mind, you know. So that's another, you know, little area of fear that may hinder a lot of us, you know, like, oh, people might think I'm crazy if I start doing videos on that. Or people might, you know, my mama might think I'm this and that, or my daddy, you know. Again, that's where our family members, you know, and not the family members hindering us allowing us to hinder us, because it's our mind frame of, you know, I got to please my family members at all times instead of being my greatest version, you know, instead of becoming, you know, the greatest version of myself. I have to please, you know, the confusion that is my relatives and family members' minds, you know, and not saying all our people are confused, you know, but when anybody's in the state of mind of the egoic mind and not realizing what it is, then yeah, you know, that could be a state of confusion. But again, stop letting the fear cripple actions. You know, a lot of us not acting upon certain things, you know, because of a certain level of fear, I think about myself with music, like trying, doing the inner work to see what levels of fear or what levels of negativity, may be hindering me from doing music, or if that's what's hindering me at all. Like, cause another thing too, I'm realizing, it's a moment of when you're ready for things as well. But again, me paying attention to that aspect of like, well, let me see what it is that I may be fearing in this area, because if I don't get over, like, if I don't work this out of my subconscious, I'm gonna constantly be fearing this situation. You know what I'm saying? So again, having to face these fears and acknowledge what's truly going on internally, because in order to properly diagnose and fix a situation, you got to acknowledge what's really going on. If I don't acknowledge the broke leg and I try to act like it's not really there, and I could fix it with just positive energy, then it's gonna sit there and get worse, and it's not gonna get help, so same thing with fears. You got a certain fear. I'm not going to face that fear. I'm going to just constantly still run away from it. Or I'm just going to constantly run away from it. And then Source is going to put it everywhere where you try to run. That energy is going to be there waiting for you to face it, Because it's just like a game. Like, once you face it, you won't have to deal with it anymore. But again, because that's another aspect of not trusting our source, not trusting in the source and higher self. That, because you feeling like, oh, if I face it, there's going to be something bad going to happen. So in that moment, you're not really trusting your higher self and in the source, like in that moment, like you scared to face your fear because you might, oh no, because God might allow for me to be fucked over, if I face my fear, you know. So you indirectly telling your inner source, like, you ain't shit. You can't save me from my fears. Like, I can't save myself from myself. You ain't shit, self. That, again, this is what you're telling yourself, whether you verbalize it in that manner. That's what the energy of what you're saying to yourself and giving off to yourself as you do these, certain things, or as you occupy these certain levels of consciousness, you hinder yourself in this manner. But let's see. Oh yeah, and like the fear, like when you don't take care of, what is in a moment. So like, say for instance, being fearful to speak up in a certain moment, but then here it is, where now it becomes a lingering and reoccurring thought, that plagues your now, because you didn't speak on it, because you felt like you want to say something to somebody and speak on something, but you was a little fearful. But now you're constantly being plagued, with that thought, popping up. And matter of fact, and indirectly, if you're not, sturdy in your consciousness, it'll trying to push you back into your thoughts. But again, like when you're fearful about taking action in a certain situation or speaking up, you'll feel like, man, I should have done this. Man, I should have walked up to that queen and said something. I should have said something to that king. I should have said, I should have did this or did that. But it was out of fear that you didn't do anything, And again, that reoccurring thought could plague our now because we weren't courageous enough to do or say what we felt earlier in that moment, So that's, again, now is the vibrate. What you feeling right now, if that's how you feeling, speak it right now, Instead of not saying it, and then you're going to create a certain type of vibe where, again, now you're going to kind of be lingering. Because that's, too, what provokes us to be lingering in our past is, being fearful of taking action or doing what it is we want to do or saying what it is we want to say. And when we don't do it, now, we keep having flashbacks of like, but man, if I would have said it, it could have went down like this. If I would have done that, it could have went down like this. well, you had your chance, in which in a lot of cases it ain't just one chance. It could reoccur again, since you're po-mouthing. The universe could allow for it to pop up again, and you could show that you fearless in that moment, and that you could speak up, or do what it is that you want to do, in that moment. And also, just another aspect, speaking about fear, where there's a practical essence of protecting yourself, compared to wanting to protect yourself because of fear mongering thoughts of possibilities. Like, there's the practical essence of, hey, there are energies that want to harm others on this physical plane of existence. So I'm gonna just have these crystals here. I'm gonna work with these crystals, to protect my energy field from negativity, this and that. Not saying that, not sitting there fear mongering like, oh man, every moment somebody's trying to pressure me with negativity. Oh man, every moment somebody could try to do me something. It's not from that aspect. Again, it's just that practical essence of, hey, I'm in this physical realm. Some people in this physical realm, ain't got it all up there. And which was funny, and I'm not talking about the ones that most people, when you say don't have it all up there, you probably thought of like certain quote-unquote crazy people, but the ones who don't have it all out up there is the ones who some people may see as saying, hey, little doggy, hey, puppy. All right. It's all good. Little doggy came holler at me. Little puppy love. But again, the practical essence of protecting yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I think about the brethren, Derek Grace, the way he dealt with the guns, and dealing, with his kids with the guns. Again, with me personally, though, I do understand. Like, again, there's a certain level of protection that we should have for ourselves on a physical plane. But I rather have my physical protection be a metaphysical means, in essence. Well, like, I just in this lifetime, I rather learn how to deal with, the magical essence, because I see how powerful, the sorcery of, the Jesuits, and these certain oppressing entities, in essence, how strongly the magic works, before before a gun. And this not to say to go out here trying to maliciously use magic towards others, but more so like thinking about magic like karate, like it's more of a self-defense, instead of I'm trying to go out here and punch somebody in the face so I could show my karate moves. It's not about that level of growth. But again, it's also not being into that moralistic vibe of like, naughty or nice, or like, say for instance, the Haitians won their revolution with, using that magic, against the colonial people, against the colonists, So, there's levels of, directing magic towards, somebody, but in essence, while being in alignment with divine order, in essence, not under the context of let me just throw some, energy towards that person way, just to throw some energy towards their way. But again, back to the aspect where I was speaking to, again, for me, this is, universal frequencies with. Because again, nobody could be universal frequencies like universal frequencies could be universal frequencies. And nobody knows what's going on internally inside universal frequencies except for universal frequencies. So I know what I'm great at. I know what level of protection I need, you know what I'm saying? You know, I can't speak for everybody else. That's why when I speak about, guns and stuff like that, I kind of got that to each his own type of vibe, of course. But again, though, I do want to say you don't want to be in a fear mongering vibe dealing with any level of protection, because you're going to be inviting it. You know, if you constantly feeling like, oh yeah, I got to always get a black stone to deal with negativity, because man, it's going to always have something trying to get me. And if you keep continuously having that mind frame, you're going to continuously create that energy. Like basically like you getting those crystals, you know, you creating the situation. Like it's almost like somebody like, oh yeah, let me get my weight up. Like say for instance, like let me get my weight up, let me go lift weights so I could be to a level where I could knock somebody out. You know what I'm saying? Well, if you constantly going to the gym with that in your mind, like, oh yeah, get close so I could knock somebody out, you're gonna, the universe is like, oh, all right, that's what we doing. It's gonna create a situation where, for you to use that weapon or protection, for what you've been fear mongering yourself to use it for, compared to where I'm going to the gym and lift weights due to health and due to have my body operating, to its highest capacity, you know, uh, just on the level of that, because say for instance, I don't have to say, yeah, so I could be able to whip somebody's ass. It's more so like, nah, just get my body together, be healthy, be able to move around, be able to do things, not necessarily saying I'm doing it to, oh yeah, so I could fight. Like, again, because then you start to, yeah, because I got my gun, these people shady out here, man. Everybody trying to stick you for your paper, this and that, The more problems, the more money you got, the more problems, this and that. Again, shout out to Big, and not necessarily saying that's why Big, transition from one song. But again, you know, the words do carry their little magic, so you do want to be aware of that energy, But again, protecting yourself from a practical essence and not from fear, you know, from the practical essence of, hey, the fact that, again, that I'm an energy that exists more so on one pole of, like, so say for instance, I'm dealing with the energy that's beneficial to soul ascension on this plane of existence. So, with the Hermetic principles, law of polarity, that means that they have an energy that's opposite to my energy. You know what I'm saying? That's trying to hinder energies around. So again, I could either be blindly optimistic and act like that doesn't exist, or I could just, again, have that practical level of acknowledgement about the situation, and protect myself in a manner that's just, just a practical essence, and not because, oh, I fear somebody coming after me or this and that. It's like, nah, like as a practical level. Like again, me not putting the stove turn on and this hot fire coming from it. Me not wanting to put my hand on the stove is not me. Oh, I'm scared of the stove. I'm fearful. No, it's the practicality of shit. If I put my hand on the stove, it's gonna burn. Why would I want to burn my hand? Not fearful of it. I just don't want my hand to burn. It's a, again, it's different levels to that perception and that outlook. But that's basically it. Again, one of the main reasons for synchronicity and manifestation is because we are uh, in a vibration that's raised to a higher frequency. We're vibrating at a high vibrational frequency, so that allows for, again, our higher self, spirit guides, we start to see more of these numbers and more synchronicity because we're vibrating at a higher frequency. When we vibrate in a lower frequency and in a negative state of being, then, we get less of those synchronicities, less of those manifestations, Like, it's like clockwork. But that's basically it. Matter of fact, I don't want the video to be too long. Again, facing those fears, not running from them, realizing the balance of You're not trying to be blindly optimistic or positive, but you're also not trying to be overly pessimistic and negative. You know, you know, you have awareness of what things can harm in this realm. But you're not constantly fear-mongering yourself and worrying about it, because in order to help the situation, you know, like what helps my chakras? Me paying attention to what they talking about on CNN every day, or me, doing my chakra work, helping myself, informing myself, and then informing others and allowing for others to help themselves and help them, change their inner universe, because it's a collective consciousness, being the change we want to see, quantumly, as my vibration, changes, it quantumly changes, or help others to change as well, you know, on a quantum level. Matter of fact, if you go check out my video I just did on sympathetic magic recently, talking about that law of contagion, things quantumly are connected, once being in each other's presence, after separating, they still have a quantum connection, later, that's proven on a scientific level. So again, see how these aspects correlate. That's basically it. Peace. And happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace, peace.